Well, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to BBRC Britain and English. Well, today we're going to talk about the city of Bath, but before we do, just to say it's another lovely sunny day here, well over 70 degrees Fahrenheit, that's over 20 degrees Celsius, and hopefully we'll have some summer and we won't be marred anymore, or too much longer certainly, with the pandemic. And I'm sure you're probably enjoying these sessions and would love to visit some of these places, so hopefully things will improve. If you can't come this year, no doubt there'll be a chance next year. Well, today we look at Bath, as I say. It's a beautiful Roman city with much Georgian architecture. As I say, it goes back to Roman times. Well, the compact centre, you can walk around. I must admit you can walk around in a day, but I would certainly advise longer. And if you are visiting from London, I should potentially stay for a couple of nights. You will pay a little bit more for the bed and breakfast, but certainly it's well worth it. Or there is a youth hostel you can book in there, or a few hotels around, Travelodge, etc. Obviously they're slightly cheaper, and also nice restaurants, cafes, etc. But there is a Wetherspoons if you want something a bit cheaper as well. The city is very popular with tourists and visitors, and quite unique in some places. You'll see street dancing, certainly over weekends, and musicians on the streets, providing a bit of entertainment. Well, also you'll see various museums and galleries and festivals probably around the city, certainly in the summer. Now, I will look at a few of the places, some of the places I've visited. So I will mention some of the places I would recommend. Obviously depends on how long you want to stay there and what you're interested in. But there are also other places which I will mention, and I'd recommend you look up these online, check that they're open, although I must admit most of them have been open since about the 17th of April, and progressively since then, so presumably you can go down there, or certainly if you're in England at the moment, you can go at some point. If nothing else, you can spend a day there. It's about an hour and a half from London. You go via Bristol, so it's London to Bristol. Then there's another train out to catch the other. It's on the edge of Wiltshire, actually, Bath. And if you want to go anywhere which is just outside Bath, there are buses. Most of these places are in the city. They're walkable around the city. And also you can hire bikes in the city. So, what I didn't mention, I don't think I mentioned last week, there's a lot of bikes around Oxford, but they mainly belong to students. You may remember we looked at Oxford a few weeks ago. Now, so we'll kick off with the place to visit. So, major places in Bath. Now, certainly a major tourist attraction is the Royal Crescent, right in the centre of Bath. Well worth having a walk up there. A lovely old Georgian crescent. There we are. These old Georgian townhouses there. Also, there's you'll notice there's a lawned area in front, and there's gardens in front of that, and which you can visit. But certainly, you can tell it's also on the Bath tour, which you can catch a bus, the sightseeing tour as well, if you want to do it that way, and then get off the bus at different places. Well, like I say, it's probably a few minutes walk from, probably about a 6-minute walk from the centre, and the bus station and the railway station are actually close to the centre of the city anyway. You may notice there's been a bit of work going on down there. It was heavily bombed in the Second World War, and they've spent a lot of money in the last 5 years or so doing up the centre. But otherwise, most of it's been preserved of the Georgian architecture, so you'll be able to see that, and it's quite unique. So, moving on to other places. The Fashion Museum. That's a world-class collection of contemporary historic dress. And that's at the Assembly Rooms. Beckford's Tower and Museum. 19th century folly and museum collection offering splendid cityscape views. There we are. So, if you want to have a look there, you can get a view of the city as well. And as I say, they also opened on the 17th of May. Another place which attracts tourists from far and wide, especially Chinese and Japanese, is Sally Lund's historic eating house. There we are. and certainly that's reported to be the oldest house in Bath from 1482. There we are, certainly one of the oldest houses, but it's said to be the oldest house in Bath. And, well, Sally Lunn, if you didn't know, she was a French refugee, and probably most of the locals don't know this either. French refugee who arrived in 1680 and established the bakery, and it's open daily with prize-winning handmade pies there. And of course, you can get a cup of tea as well there. Well worth a visit there. Sally Lunn's bakery, and of course her trademark bun there, Sally Lunn bun. Another place, Herschel Museum of Astronomy there. Well, there we are. Explore the life of William Herschel, the astronomer who discovered Uranus in 1781. There we are. There's also a new audio tour available. Green Park Brasserie, well, that's at Green Park Station. A few minutes walk out of the city centre, not far really, probably about a 10-minute walk from the main railway station. It's based on an old railway station which closed down a good few years ago, one of the main stations. And well, there we are. Expect a buzzing restaurant, live music at times. There we are. Good atmosphere, and al fresco terrace there. It's the historic Green Park Station, and various shops and markets, and on the old station concourse there, the old station platform, which is now home to all these shops, and of course the railway was taken away years ago, but the front of the building is still there. So well worth a look there if you want to see a bit of the history there as well. The Victoria Art Gallery, the next place here, worth a visit, which I thought I'd give a mention. Well, there you are. It's an art lover's paradise. There we are. It's the Public Art Museum in Bath, and it's home to a richly diverse collection of paintings, sculptures and decorative arts as well. But online booking is essential. Mary Shelley's House of Frankenstein. Well, there we are. The dark world of Mary Shelley. Well, there we are. And her greatest creation, Frankenstein, if you're interested in that sort of thing. Well, there we are. Immerse yourself in Mary's complex and often tragic world there, and uncover the true story of Frankenstein. There we are. So that's the museum in Bath, and well, the true story of the famous monster there. That's in Grey Street in Bath. Now, you can walk around the city, like I say. There is a bus trip. There's also bikes you can hire, or there's of course a I'm talking normal service buses to certain other places. If you want to go outside the city, do ask the Tourist Information Office, get a few maps to make sure you know where you want to go. And like I say, I expect you'll find that a day is probably not enough for the city, although it is plenty really to go around just the main elements of the city. But if you want to go outside, I should say 2 or 3 days. Depending what you want interested in doing as well. And of course you've got Bristol, which is a totally different city, but it's got quite a bit of history there. The SS Great Britain there, and Brunel. That's about half an hour or an hour on the bus, but about half an hour on the train, shall we say. Anyway, we'll move on to the top 10 things to see in Bath. Now, this includes some of those other places which I would recommend as well, and you're going to probably find some other places you'd like to see around, and you'll spend a bit more time. So like I say, it's always better to allow yourself more time. Well, when you look at the world-class architecture, you'll see there's a lot of things you can see, so you want to spend more time, sit down, take in the atmosphere, probably want to take a few photographs, like I say, get a map, and perhaps a few gifts from a few of the shops as well. Have a good look around some of the different boutiques, gift shops, and the various other interests there in the shops. Anyway, these 10 places I would recommend. Royal Crescent, we've mentioned it, but I would definitely recommend you visiting that. And it's shaped in the shape of an arc. Georgian townhouse with lawns to the front. Used to be home to the Bath rich and famous terraced houses there. And moving on from that, we have various other places to visit here. And we have the circus. It's quite close, possibly about 2 or 3 minutes away from the Crescent there. And it's Georgian architecture of houses, it's like terraces into, I think it's 4 sections, and you can see it's a circle. And again, the tourist bus, the Bath sightseeing tour, goes around there, stops and does a commentary. But there's also a few shops and places. Sometimes they open the places. I think it's an antiques shop there, possibly also a gallery which shows some of the old furniture of the day as well, and even one of the little small terrace gardens there as well. So it's well worth a look. Well, the Georgian architecture of terraced houses there by John Wood, if you want to look it up, the elder, John Wood the elder, inspired by ancient pagan sites like Stonehenge and classical Roman architecture. There we are. It has been one of Bath's most sought-after addresses there. Also home to former Prime Minister William Pitt the Elder. There we are. It's about 17th century or so. There we are. So well worth a visit. By the way, I mentioned Stonehenge there. That's in Wiltshire. You won't be able to get there by bus. But there may be day trips there. But it's not really in any principal town. It's a bit out the way. It's a main road going through there though. So moving on from that, we have another place, Pulteney Bridge. The Pulteney Bridge from 1774. There we are. Wow, that brings Italy to Bath, inspired by Ponte Vecchio. Vecchio. It's Vecchio. Vecchio. The Ponte Vecchio in Florence in Italy. There we are. And lined with shops on both sides, and one of only 4 such structures in the world. And you can view it from the river or just from the road above there. So well worth visiting. Alexandra Park, there we are. The park is perched on the summit of woodland on hills overlooking the city and accessible by local service bus. Bath Abbey, right in the centre of Bath, well worth a visit there as well. They're open most days there, COVID permitting. Place of worship there on the site for over 1,000 years. There we are, and it's had a few updates and improvements since the 18th century as well, and I'm sure there'll be a tour available there. No doubt, best way to find out is look at their website, Bath Abbey. And another place just outside the city, but more history of the city. Somebody who had a big impact on the city, Ralph Allen. Well, it's a National Trust house. It's Prior Park Landscape Garden. Prior Park. It's a National Trust property with, like I say, service bus out of the city centre, probably about 10 minutes or so. Well, they were a lovely landscape former garden there, and inspired by the landscape architect Lancelot Capability Brown. Well, he's the man who did inspire many British gardens, I think it was the 18th century, when he cleared the landscape to make sure that you could have a good view over. So perhaps controversially in some ways, but he did take down a lot of the shrubs and trees to make the view a better vista. So from the house, but so that was his impact on the landscape and landscape architecture, shall we say? The lakes, woodland paths, and a famous Palladium bridge there. There we are. So it's an interesting bridge there. Great Pulteney Street, another place. The longest, widest Georgian street in Bath. And it's got also on the street is the Holborn Museum, collection of various artifacts from all over the world there. And well, it was once a hotel. So have a look at that when you're up there. The assembly rooms there we are, once exclusive for the rich and famous there, and now open to the public to see the grandeur. You can get a cup of tea there as well, and I think there's a cafe there. So well worth a visit. Another place, back to the Sally Lunn. I mentioned it before. I know a lot of the Chinese like to go there than the Japanese, and probably a few others there. Sally Lunn's house there, where I get yourself one of her buns. Goes back to 1482. Go in there, and very quaint, narrow streets in Bath, just in that part. And there we are, Green Park Station, as I mentioned earlier. There were various bijou shops there, and well, you've got various there. Actually, got some antique shops. You've got independent shops, arts, and it's a nice old oldie worldy station there. But there's a big Sainsbury's if you want anything else there to take home. Back to where you're staying, perhaps anything else. So you've got the main stores as well there, but well worth a visit. And as I say, if you do want to visit Bath, do plan it before you go, and have a look at some of these sites online. I will try to get some photographs at some point, but no doubt you can look up these places. As I say, I've visited most of these places, and I spoke to some people that go there. I know I spoke to an American girl about 5 years ago, and she thought she could get around the city in an afternoon. Well, it'd be quite a rush. If you're just going to look at some of the sites and architecture, you probably could do, but I would say if you want to do more than that, you need at least a couple of days, probably 3. But like I say, it is a day trip. You could probably, if you wanted to go from London on the train as a day trip, but I would recommend a little bit more. Perhaps stay there for a few days. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again next week. Thank you very much. Bye now.